The US-Pakistan relationship has always been a complex and often unpredictable roller coaster. It's a relationship characterized by periods of close cooperation, punctuated by moments of deep disagreement and mistrust. Understanding this historical context is crucial to navigating the present and future of this important bilateral relationship. It's a relationship marked by strategic alliances forged in times of mutual need, but also shadowed by deep mistrust stemming from divergent interests and priorities. These contrasting elements have shaped the dynamics between Washington and Islamabad for decades. During the Cold War, Pakistan was Washington's key ally in the region, seen as a crucial bulwark against Soviet expansionism. The alliance was cemented by shared concerns about communist influence in South Asia. This partnership peaked in the 1980s, when both the US and Pakistan actively backed the Afghan Mujahideen in their resistance against the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan. This era saw unprecedented levels of cooperation and strategic alignment. But even then, this partnership was largely transactional in nature. It was driven more by immediate shared strategic needs rather than a foundation of deeply shared values or long-term vision. This transactional nature would later contribute to periods of strain. When the Soviets finally withdrew from Afghanistan, US interest in the region, and consequently in Pakistan, began to fade rather quickly. This sudden shift left Pakistan to grapple with the destabilizing fallout of the war, including a massive influx of refugees and a rise in religious militancy within its borders. This perceived sense of abandonment by the United States continues to significantly shape Pakistani perceptions of the relationship to this day. It fuels a narrative of being used and then discarded. In the aftermath of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, Pakistan once again became a strategically important partner for the US, designated as a major non-NATO ally in the global war on terror. However, much like the Cold War alliance, this renewed partnership was largely built on a single overriding security concern: combating terrorism. Extensive cooperation between the two countries led to some high-profile counter-terrorism successes, disrupting terrorist networks and apprehending key figures. Despite these successes, persistent US suspicions regarding Pakistan's alleged ties to various militant groups continued to fuel distrust and undermine the relationship. The 2011 killing of Osama bin Laden by US forces in Abbottabad, Pakistan, without prior notification to the Pakistani government, brought these underlying tensions to a breaking point. Now, with the United States having withdrawn its forces from Afghanistan and increasingly focusing its strategic attention on the rise of China, Pakistan's long-held strategic importance to the US is undergoing a significant re-evaluation in Washington. The nature of their engagement is being reconsidered. Looking ahead, both the United States and Pakistan face the challenge of finding new, more sustainable reasons to engage with each other in a rapidly evolving global landscape. The key lies in identifying shared interests beyond immediate security concerns. US policy toward Pakistan is shifting. It's a subtle but significant transformation that reflects evolving geopolitical realities and a re-evaluation of long-term strategic interests. This shift isn't happening overnight, but rather, not suddenly, but as part of a broader recalibration. It's a deliberate move to redefine the contours of the relationship, moving away from the dynamics of the past and towards a more sustainable and balanced engagement. For 2 decades, US engagement was almost entirely about Afghanistan. The conflict there, the strategies employed, and the regional implications. Aid, diplomacy, and military ties were inextricably linked to the war effort. Pakistan's cooperation was seen as vital for achieving US objectives in Afghanistan. The 2021 US withdrawal fundamentally altered this dynamic and effectively ended Pakistan's role as a crucial logistical and diplomatic linchpin in the region. The withdrawal marked a turning point, necessitating a reassessment of the US-Pakistan relationship. Now, Washington seeks a more modest, stable partnership, one that is not solely defined by security concerns or geopolitical exigencies. This means less emphasis on security aid and a greater focus on trade, fostering economic interdependence and mutual prosperity. It also means investment, encouraging economic growth and development, and promoting regional stability through diplomatic engagement and cooperation. The rise of US-China rivalry is undeniably a major factor influencing this shift, adding a new layer of complexity to the US-Pakistan dynamic. Pakistan's deepening ties with Beijing, driven by economic and strategic considerations, are being closely watched in Washington, especially through the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, a massive infrastructure project that is a key component of China's Belt and Road Initiative. This puts Pakistan squarely at the center of global competition, as a nation navigating the complex interplay between the world's two largest economies. The US wants to keep Pakistan close, maintaining a working relationship and channels of communication, but not at the expense of inadvertently supporting China's broader strategic interests or undermining US efforts to promote a more balanced regional order. Fatigue also plays a significant role in shaping US policy. After years of mixed results and fluctuating levels of cooperation, Washington is simply less willing to invest heavily in a relationship that has often been characterized by uncertainty and mistrust. The focus is now on targeted, conditional engagement, ensuring that U.S. assistance is aligned with specific objectives and that Pakistan is held accountable for its commitments. This approach favors modest cooperation over grand alliances, prioritizing practical outcomes and tangible results. The U.S. isn't abandoning Pakistan altogether, recognizing its strategic importance and its potential role in regional stability. But it is fundamentally resizing the relationship to fit new priorities, reflecting a more realistic assessment of mutual interests and shared goals. The era of blank checks and unconditional support is definitively over, signaling a new chapter in U.S.-Pakistan relations. What remains is a cautious, interest-driven partnership, one that is characterized by measured cooperation and a pragmatic approach to addressing shared challenges. In Pakistan, the Chief of Army Staff is arguably the country's most powerful figure, shaping both domestic and foreign policy. The military's influence extends beyond defense, often steering national strategy even under civilian governments. The Army Chief is central to Pakistan's relations with the US, China, and other powers. Foreign officials know that real decisions require military backing. The COAS also directs counter-terrorism and manages internal security threats like the Pakistani Taliban. The military's economic interests further cement its power. When the Army Chief visits Washington, it's a high-stakes diplomatic mission, not just a military one. His role is key to understanding the true dynamics of US-Pakistan relations. The Army Chief's recent U.S. visit aimed to reset the relationship for a new era. He met top U.S. officials discussing not just counter-terrorism, but broader issues like border security and regional stability. Pakistan sought U.S. support against the TTP, which operates from Afghanistan, and highlighted the existential threat it poses. For the U.S., the visit was a chance to gauge Pakistan's military thinking and discuss future cooperation, including concerns about China. The meetings were less about big announcements and more about maintaining open channels. Both sides signaled a desire to keep the partnership alive, even as its nature evolves. The visit underscored the importance of quiet, steady diplomacy in a volatile region. The future trajectory of US-Pakistan ties hinges significantly on a few key issues that demand careful consideration and strategic foresight. These issues are not isolated incidents but rather interconnected challenges that will define the contours of their relationship in the years to come. These critical areas include regional security, the evolving situation in Afghanistan, and the overarching influence of China in the region. Both the United States and Pakistan share a common objective: to prevent Afghanistan from once again becoming a breeding ground and safe haven for terrorist organizations. However, their approaches on how to effectively engage with the Taliban regime in Afghanistan differ substantially, leading to potential points of contention. The United States tends to favor a strategy of applying pressure and offering aid with strict conditions attached, aiming to incentivize certain behaviors from the Taliban. Pakistan, on the other hand, leans towards a more pragmatic engagement, prioritizing stability and seeking to avoid a complete state collapse in Afghanistan, which it believes would have dire consequences for the entire region. This divergence in strategies inevitably creates friction between the two nations. Washington expresses concerns that Pakistan's approach, while seemingly practical, could inadvertently empower militant groups and undermine broader counterterrorism efforts. The growing influence of China in the region is another major factor complicating the US-Pakistan relationship. Pakistan's strategic partnership with Beijing, particularly through initiatives like the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPC, is a cornerstone of its economic and foreign policy strategy. However, the United States views this deepening relationship with a degree of suspicion, perceiving it as a potential challenge to its own strategic interests in the region. Consequently, Pakistan finds itself in a delicate position, needing to carefully balance its ties with both the United States and China. This balancing act becomes even more challenging as the rivalry between the United States and China continues to intensify on the global stage. Moving forward, the United States is likely to exert pressure on Pakistan to ensure greater transparency in its dealings and agreements with China, particularly concerning financial and strategic matters. Simultaneously, the U.S. may offer Pakistan alternative avenues for economic growth and development through increased trade, investment opportunities, and enhanced economic cooperation. Ultimately, the success of the U.S.-Pakistan relationship will depend on effectively managing this complex strategic triangle involving the United States, Pakistan, and China. The choices made and the strategies adopted by these nations will have far-reaching consequences, shaping the geopolitical landscape and determining the future stability and prosperity of the entire South Asia region. Despite shifting priorities, counterterrorism remains a vital area of U.S.-Pakistan cooperation. The threat has evolved. Now it's about preventing extremist groups from destabilizing Pakistan or Afghanistan. Cooperation is more targeted and intelligence-driven, relying on discrete channels rather than massive aid. Over-the-horizon capabilities and intelligence sharing are key, but trust remains a challenge. The TTP is a major sticking point. Pakistan wants U.S. pressure on the Afghan Taliban, while the U.S. is wary of Pakistan's selective approach to militants. Building trust will require Pakistan to act consistently against all groups, and the U.S. to recognize Pakistan's security concerns. The new model is pragmatic, case-by-case cooperation. It's modest but essential for both countries' security. The U.S.-Pakistan relationship is entering a new phase, less dramatic, more pragmatic. Expect ongoing dialogue and cooperation, especially on security and counterterrorism, but with a broader focus on trade, investment, and climate. Both sides want stability, not grand alliances. Regional crises or U.S.-China tensions could still disrupt the balance, forcing tough choices. The relationship will be managed carefully, driven by overlapping interests rather than sweeping visions. The highs may be lower, but the lows less severe. For two countries with a turbulent history, stable, realistic engagement may be the best outcome. It's not exciting, but it's sustainable for the challenges ahead.